issue. The team of international guarantors has concluded its visits to Sierra Leone. Well, the team was co-led by the former Vice President of the Gambia, Fatuma Jallo Tambajan, returned to the country after 1 year to gauge progress in the implementation of the National Unity Agreement. Well, the team had engagements with stakeholders, including civil society, opposition parties, and the government. Well, it also met with leaders of all political parties, ACSL, ONS, and the diplomatic community, among others. Well, the team of international moral guarantors was in Sierra Leone to see so far how much progress has been made 1 year since the agreement was signed between the government of Sierra Leone and the main opposition party, All People's Congress, after the June 2023 elections. Well, in the studio I have Imran Sila, who is from the Ministry of Information, Sidi Tunis, who is the Public Secretary of the All People's Congress, and Fatmata Jallo from the Peace Commission. Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Let me start with you, Sidi Tunis. As an opposition party, I'm sure you had long waited for the moral guarantors, those who were here when the agreement was signed, to meet with them. And what was your impression with them when they came?
Well, thank you very much, Asmi. The fact of the matter is this is something that is of immense interest to the international community, especially the moral guarantors. They engaged us. They were very forthright. They were very much interested in knowing how far we have gone with the implementation of the agreement for national unity, what the challenges are, if there are any, and also how they could come in to ensure that we expedite the remaining areas that are yet to be 100% or fully implemented. The discussions were frank, the discussions were open and friendly, and the discussions were very engaging on all sides, and at the end of the day we were able to communicate to them where we are with the implementation of especially the agreement for national unity, and how far we have gone also with putting structures in place to ensure the full implementation of the recommendations of the tripartite report.
So what were some of the issues that as an opposition party you raised with them, with moral guarantors?
Well, they were here to see how far we have gone with implementing the recommendations. So of course we gave them progress report, resolution by resolution. If you look at the agreement for national unity, it had 8 resolutions, and I'll say that pretty much we have implemented to all of them, either fully or partially. There is none that hasn't had an aspect of it that has not been implemented. And so for those that we have implemented fully, like our resolutions 1, 2, 7, and to a large extent 8, and even 5, we were able to communicate. And the 3 that have been partially implemented, like resolution 4, where we still have some in terms of how we implement, where we still had few challenges, but of course those are being cleared little by little. And then of course resolution 6, I believe, but in all the case we were able to communicate. And then when it came to the tripartite committee, we communicated our concerns, like for example the way the steering committee was set up, the composition of the steering committee, and what we feel the composition should look like, even when it comes to the chairmanship of the steering committee, how we feel it should be reflected. We were able to communicate those.
Could you have your concerns addressed?
I'll say they were, because they were able to take those concerns to the government, and I believe government also communicated. Just this morning I was on air with the Independent Commission for Peace and National Unity, as far as and also the Deputy Justice Minister, some of these issues we raised, and they were able to also throw light on them. A lot of clarifications were made, so I'm pretty sure from those clarifications that I heard this morning, I'm pretty sure our concerns were taken to government and they were being addressed. So, but we'll continue to engage because it is a continuous
one misconception process. Your party had held was that when the committee came, your former flag bearer, Dr. Samura Kamara, was going to be installed as president of Sierra Leone. I mean, that was one thing that was touted by the opposition. I'm sure you are aware of that. Your supporters were clamoring that Samura Kamara was going to be installed as president. That was a very dangerous path.
I mean, it is. I mean, it was and it still is, as a matter of fact, because that is one area where we have had enormous difficulty trying to communicate to the public. And I would say this with all honesty and sincerity. As much as we were able to communicate to the very public that was not the case.
Is that not a position of your party, the APC?
No, that is not. And we have communicated this, that was the position of our party post 2023. We disagreed with the elections. We were of the view that disaggregated results should be produced. We were of the view that we should have a rerun if that is not done. But the fact of the matter is, those are the reasons why we went to Bintu Mani, to have a dialogue. And after that dialogue, we had an agreement that had 8 resolutions that are now being implemented. And one of the resolutions pointed to electoral systems review and processes, which is known as the tripartite committee.
So is that different from what your former flag bearer has been calling electoral justice?
I think it is. I think that is where we have to hold ourselves responsible again, how we communicate to our membership. And I say this because, and I hope people are listening to me now. I say this because when we were having that meeting with the moral guarantors, we had people outside protesting, right? For this same electoral justice, what they perceive, just as you stated, because that is what a quarter of probably some influential people told them. They were out there protesting. We were all in that room engaging with our moral guarantors. Our former flag bearer, former leader was in that room as well. And for almost 2 hours that we deliberated with those moral guarantors, nothing, no discussion on electoral justice was done. None, absolutely. Nothing was said about rerun or re-election. The focus was on mainly the implementation of the agreement, as we as a party communicated to our membership. And throughout that 2 hours, or those 2 hours, as me, our president, I mean, I'm not trying to, present him in a bad light, but I'm just trying to communicate to the membership and to the populace. We still stick with this idea or this notion of whatever is being communicated to them about President Bio being removed and Dr. Samura Kamara being installed because of electoral justice. They were out there confronting the police, being tear gassed, being arrested, and we were in a meeting for 2 hours and no mention of electoral justice. Is
that why some of those supporters of Dr. Samura see you, the executive, as a sellout?
No. They should be aware now. So Dr. Samura Kamara was there. We spoke. He didn't speak. Not a single word throughout the meeting.
So you mean he didn't even talk about electoral justice?
He didn't say a word, not about electoral justice, not even a mention of the people outside protesting for him because of what he has told them. So it comes back to the people. You're looking at us as being sellout. We have been telling you that this is a facade as far as we are concerned. This is not real. This is not truthful. This is not honest. I'm being real. I'm a Sierra Leonean. I'm an APC. I'm young. I sit in every meeting. I keep telling people this. I sit in every meeting, whether it is with donors, whether it is just us, APC, whether. So for me, the discussions around electoral justice, to me, is only when it is within the APC. Whenever we sit with government, whenever we sit with the international community, I don't hear that discussion.
Only there for now.
So that is what I want people to understand.
Okay.
When we keep telling them, this is not part of where we are now. It was before. I wouldn't lie, going into the Bintu program, but after Bintu, it has never been part of
Thank you
these
very much.
agreements.
Sidi Tunis is the publicity secretary of the main opposition party, All People's Congress. Imran Sila, the government also, I'm sure, maybe had its own concerns, had some of its own grievances that it wanted to share with the visiting committee. As a government, did you have any concerns?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. Thank you again for the opportunity. I wouldn't necessarily say concerns, but then I think it was an opportunity to have a conversation around the issues like the National Publicity Secretary of the APC just said. Conversation around the issues, how far we have come, what has been done so far, what is still remaining and outstanding. And I mean, again, particularly as it relates to, I think, Resolution 4. There are, I mean, various
That
views.
resolution speaks about what?
Resolution 4 talks about the release of political prisoners and, you know, the various subtext to that resolution. What are the various views around the table? I mean, from government and obviously from the opposition. But then I think during the conversation, I mean, it became clear that we were, I mean, almost talking from the same point, right, despite those variations. And I think we left that conversation feeling satisfied. And so therefore, if you go back to the press release that the team issued out after their 4 days visit, the second to last paragraph, the first sentence, it says they have noted with satisfaction. Very important. Let us underline that word. They have noted with satisfaction the progress made, right, on all of those issues, and continue to encourage dialogue and communication and interface. I mean, to make good on our promises, right, to the people of this country, and come good also on the outstanding issues. And
so has the mistrust and distrust between the government and the APC dissipated?
But so I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as mistrust. I would say there
was no love lost between the APC and the government.
But I mean, again, I think that I wouldn't necessarily interpret that as being mistrust. I would say we were looking for common ground. We all had our various points and our various views. I mean, going into those.
Did you trust them?
Into those conversations. Look, we have to deal with each other as Sierra Leoneans, full stop, right? And I think I look beyond whatever the posture, right, and the character disposition may look like at any given point. And I'm sure that is certainly the position of His Excellency the President. We look to the future and we see a glass half full rather than half empty. And so therefore we had those conversations in a frank, candid, and fair atmosphere to be able to look for common ground and make progress for and on behalf of the people of this country, because we owe it to them ultimately. And that is why we have seen so much progress over time, and that is why we continue to move forward. I listened to Sidi this morning on 98.1. Yesterday, we were together on Media Junction, which is the largest platform for the North, because it includes Kabbalah, Falaba, Kambia, Potloko, and Tonkolili. And we were able to talk on the issues that we're talking about now.
The resolution 4, which is key, the view of the opposition, Sidi will confirm or deny that some of the names they presented, some of the people they are looking forward to being released are yet to be released.
Now, I mean, I don't think that's the case. You just heard from him that based on his conversation this morning with the Deputy Minister of Justice, Alpha Sisi, some clarifications were made. But let me go back to what was the initial list that was submitted It was a list of 318 persons submitted by the APC. In their consideration, these were people who were in custody for political reasons, 318. Of the 318, only 15 on that list of 318 were in custody as at that time. Don't forget that the list came before the coup, the attempted coup. And so after the coup, because of what happened to Pademba Road Prison and a number of other issues, you now had to take stock. And so it was the responsibility of the Director of Prisons to look at the list and come up with what was the situation as at that given point in time. 3 were military officers who were alleged to be part of the November 26 failed coup. 53 had served jail terms and had since been released. These were found guilty for their charges not related to elections in any way, but they had been released, which were on the list that was submitted of the 318. 65 had been discharged after paying fines ordered by the court. Again, these people accepted their punishment, which were not election related, right? But they were included in the list and they had already been discharged. 14 had been released on bail. 15 names on that list were never in custody. 9 names were duplicated. Now,
so is it that the APC presented the wrong names?
I wouldn't necessarily say so. I mean,
because out of 318, according to you, only 15 were held as a result of political
it is fair to say, and I'm sure Sidi would agree with me, that events overtook the entire exercise. A list was submitted. That list was about to be looked into, and then we had the unfortunate incident, in November, on the 26th of November. And so that sort of changed the dynamics, if you like, right? So I'm sure APC did an honest job of what they considered to be people in custody, right, which the government needed to consider. But after the events of the 26th of November, naturally that consideration became a different prospect altogether. And so, but that is the situation, and that update was given. Let me say that as at this morning, listening to Sidi and the Deputy Minister of Justice Alpha Cisse, I think there's only 13 or 14 outstanding. And I'm sure there was a clear commitment from Alpha Cisse, who leads in that exercise, being the Deputy Minister of Justice, to continue having those conversations with representatives from the APC and all involved and included, to be able to come to conclusions on those. Finally, and the final point I think I'd like to make before I revert back to you, I think we should feel comforted, and we should feel excited about the prospects, right, that awaits us. We feel that we need to continue to dialogue and interface with the opposition. They feel the same way.
But one section of the opposition still believes that, electoral justice has not been served yet.
Look, let us not, and again, I feel for Sidi and those who have been saying the right things from the outset. You have to understand the internal dynamics of party politics in Sierra Leone, right? The SLPP, we've had our fair share over time anyway, so I understand where he's coming from. But then I think the vast majority of them, right, mean well for these conversations, and definitely for the 84 recommendations that we have. They have done their best, right, in the interest of their party supporters and membership, and they also mean well for the country. And I think that ultimately will stand the test of times. We will have these conversations despite the intrigues that we see unfolding in certain quarters. And I think those individuals, in those quarters, ultimately will understand that what is unfolding is bigger than them. There's a clear commitment from the APC, the national executive, and that includes the national chairman, Honorable Mikhail Mansari, in moving forward with these conversations. And I think that's the position.
Samura Kamara, Doctor, said it is not done until it is done. I think, is that the right quotation? Did I quote it well?
Well, it is not over until it is
over. Okay.
Yes.
Well, he is Sidi. Earlier on, we had Imran. Let me one institution that was very pivotal, is still pivotal in this whole exercise, is the National Peace Commission. Well, we have in the studio Madam Fatmata Jal. Welcome to the program, Madam.
Thank you.
My former, she's still my senior colleague. One of those who trained me anyway. by the way. Your commission was very instrumental in all of this, bringing the government and the opposition. Were you pleased with the outcome?
Yeah, yes, as you said, we've been very instrumental from the start. After the elections, the Peace Commission engaged the APC following their declaration of non-participation in the government, and they requested for the intervention of the international community. That's how we were able to get the ECOWAS, the UN, the Commonwealth to come here, and we had the dialogue at Bintumani, and then we had the agreement and the 8 resolutions. We're pleased because the joint mission, they were happy with the implementation of the process so far. The 8 resolutions, as mentioned by these 2 gentlemen, almost all of these have been implemented, and they were really happy with the progress of peace and stability in the country. And they said the last time they came here, there were tensions all around, but this time there are no tensions. They saw the level of stability in the country, and they were very impressed with that, and they commended the president for the leadership shown since the signing of the agreement, and also the opposition APC for their cooperation so far with the process, and they urge all parties to continue with their engagement also with the various stakeholders. They were very impressed with the level of commitment of these institutions to implement the agreement. We know they may have challenges, but so far there is a level of commitment shown by them to the moral guarantors as they came. And so as a commission, we're very pleased with the outcome so far.
The commission is a Sierra Leonean institute, just like when a family has a feud and an outsider is called, and later the outsider will go and the family will remain to iron things. That's the way the commission finds itself. So now that the post visit, what's going to be the role of the commission in ensuring that the remaining aspect of these resolutions are implemented to the latter?
Well, part of the recommendations is the need for the formation of local moral guarantors. Those who came are international moral guarantors. We're going to have local moral guarantors. In fact, they met with a team, just like a skeletal team of the local moral guarantors at Bintumani. So the Peace Commission is now taking the lead to sort of bring together the local moral guarantors. Will do TOR for them, set up a work plan of activities, what they will do. So this group comprises of the local moral guarantors. They will include the civil society, the Interreligious Council, the Youth, Children's Forum, Labour Congress. They will be on the ground to continue monitoring the process, because even the international guarantors made it clear that this is a Sierra Leonean process. We should own it. They can come, they will be coming to monitor, to give us the necessary support, but we as a people, we must own the process, we must take responsibility. So the Peace Commission will coordinate that to ensure that the local moral guarantors follow the process of implementation of these recommendations too. So that's what we'll be working on.
So as a commission, did you learn anything from this exercise? Because when it all started, the opposition, the confidence that the opposition had in you was staggering. That's why they had to prefer an international umpire to come instead of the Peace Commission.
Oh, not necessarily, because we've been working with them even prior to the elections. Before the election process, the campaign period, we were engaging with them. So it's not fair to say that they don't have confidence in the commission. They've always confided in us. That's why they agreed, at the onset, to even talk to us. At the time they were saying they're not participating in government, but they spoke to the Peace Commission.
But they preferred international negotiators.
Well,
if they had that strong confidence in you, they wouldn't have gone out to search for someone else.
It's not on the Peace Commission. They wanted all outsiders. This is like a fight between an in-house fight. So maybe they needed somebody from the outside to come to serve as a referee. But it's not that they don't have confidence in the committee, because we've been engaging them and they've been very open to us, and we've continued with that engagement with them. So that's why we'll lay the process of coordinating the moral guarantors. So we'll continue this engagement with not just them, the other political parties, because that was one of the issues that came up. The other political parties are saying they have been left out of this entire process. So we want all of them to be on board this implementation, because whatever decisions are going to be taken, reviews or new laws created, it's going to affect every Sierra Leonean, not just the APC or the government. So the process should be all inclusive.
How would you ensure that, I mean, some of the resolutions talk about reforming certain laws, also reforming certain institutions. How is the Commission going to work with that?
Well, we will serve like the moral guarantors will like serve like an advisory group to like, because these institutions have the agreements and they in the agreement spelled out what they are supposed to do. So all we have to do will be to encourage them, to push them further so that they will implement them, and where they have like challenges they bring it to attention and then we'll pass on.
I think that was another discussion we had this morning at 98.1, and a reference was made to the new steering committee. So it means probably the engagement with government spoke to that, to the concerns that we raised, and some adjustments may have been made. So I'll wait for us to meet again and see what the new steering committee will look like. So this is really what is happening, and this is really why useful it was for the moral guarantors to come in, and also it is really why useful it is for us to have an independent peace commission in this, because from the onset they facilitated this meeting, and they are trying to ensure that we maintain the balance and we maintain the engagement, so that at the end of the day we'll continue and we'll be able to implement this in the
some people say one dilemma that the APC has found itself now is who's going to lead your own negotiation, because the person who was leading your negotiation was the flag bearer for 2020, whom your party has now been referred to as a former flag bearer. So he's no longer on the driving seat, he's no longer your leader. So who leads from the APC's front?
Well, the good thing is the period for negotiations are over. Agreements have been made, recommendations have been made, and it is now time for implementation of those recommendations. And as you can see, new structures are being set up, which will be responsible for the implementation of those recommendations. So of course, the implementation structures may not necessarily have to be the same as a negotiating structure. So even where we see, so it is really not a difficult thing. It shouldn't be a difficult thing for us to have somebody new lead the implementation of those recommendations.
So does he have any role, Dr. Samura Kamara?
Oh, he does. He's a member of our party. He's a senior stakeholder, so he will still have enormous contributions to make when it comes to issues like this, but he doesn't have to be leader for him to make those contributions. A lot of those people that participated in the negotiations, in the tripartite committee, we are not leaders of our party, but they made meaningful contributions. So as long as you are a member, whether within the executive structure or not, and we cannot have these discussions without him, because he was the flag bearer. So all of these are really centered around the elections and how we make the elections better. But it doesn't mean because all of those people that were engaged during these elections will be the same people that will be engaged for future elections. So that is why we have to focus more on the implementation of the recommendations than who leads or who are involved.
So has the level of trust increased now between you and the government?
I think the level of engagement needs to continue, as we have seen. And I also think we have to continue to maintain transparency, sincerity, that those two can help to continue to build the trust and increase the trust. Of course, we're still facing challenges, and I believe a lot of the challenges are, have to do with how we communicate, not only internally but also externally. And mainly, we may be saying the same thing, but the way we say them may sound different.
Well, that should start with your party as well.
Of course, that is why I was frank to state what I stated earlier. I did not do it out of malice. I just did it out of morality and my responsibility, especially for the office that I hold. It is integral. It is without say, to maintain integrity, credibility, and honesty when you are in leadership position. And how you communicate with your people also says a lot. You have to always be honest and sincere.
Okay.
No matter how hurtful the truth is, you should be able to say the truth.
Thank you, Sidi Tunis. Imran, the issue of the steering committee, that was one key disagreement that the opposition holds, the way, the composition and the chairmanship of that. As a government, have you thought of rearranging the arrangement?
Well, look, I mean, again, we have to understand that going back to where we started, with the National Unity Dialogue, which gave birth to the 8 resolutions, right, which is now further giving us a grandchild, if you like. For one of the resolutions is what we refer to Resolution 3 and the tripartite, which has 84 recommendations. It shows that everything is a work in progress, basically. And the framework still exists to dialogue, to interface, and we hope that we can utilize the opportunities that we have at hand and the framework that does exist to continue to have conversations around the steering committee and every other issue that might arise at some point in the future. I mean, the challenges we faced before and what we might face at some point in the future are not insurmountable.
So are there timelines for this resolution? Because I mean,
yes,
you can't implement them any.
PPRC, civil society organizations, the All People's Congress, and they were able to capture all of the feedback that they got by saying they felt satisfied. So meaning, even with the ECSL, they realized and recognized that progress has been made. Yes, the real hard and difficult road or path ahead with the 84 recommendations, because some of it touches and concerns ECSL, but that would obviously have to go to Parliament at some point. And in Parliament, for me, that's the final arbiter. That is what gives me comfort and hope. When it gets to Parliament, that is very bipartisan. APC, SLPP, paramount chiefs would have an opportunity now to deliberate, right, word for word, line by line, sentence by sentence, structure by, paragraph by paragraph, every single thing that goes before them, right, to be able to take a vote. And it's going to be the same for what might concern PPRC. And for those that are connected with the constitutional review process, ultimately the people of this country would have the opportunity to decide, because it has to go to a referendum and we would all have to vote.
Thank you very much, Imran.
I mean, the checks and balances are very clear, and I think we will get to that point.
Thank
eventually.
you. Madam Fatmata, the issue of timeline, that is also very crucial, that is very key. I mean, some may want to buy time, some may want to say it is slow. So it is very crucial. How would you ensure that timelines are met?
Well, as you said, the issue of timelines is crucial, and that's why, and during the consultations with the various stakeholders, the international moral guarantors did bring that to the attention of the various stakeholders about the importance of timeliness of the implementation of the agreement, and also the issue of inclusivity, as well as transparency. So we think it is important, but as Imran said, it's good for us at the end of the day to have, a proper structure put in place to ensure that come 2028, we do not have a repeat of what happened. Yeah, time is of the essence, but we need to go accordingly. We need to do things properly. So while we are concerned about time, let's exercise a bit of patience, to ensure that at the end of the day, we get it right. We want to get it right once and for all, so that we avoid all these problems that we've been having at the past election. So yes, time is of the essence, but let's ensure we get it right this time around. And we as a commission, as I said, will continue to work with the various parties. To try to urge them to speed up with whatever reviews they are doing, or whatever implementation they have to carry out. So we'll try to work with them to ensure that they go according to what is in the agreement.
Madam John, another issue is the issue I see, the issue of misinformation and disinformation. That is also very key, because after the signing last year, we had different interpretations. Up to last week, many people held their own interpretations of what the committee was coming to do. And people are still holding different perspectives and different views. So the commission is very crucial here to let the public know what is in these resolution, these agreements, so that we don't have a situation where people, we have the issue of accusation will come again.
Yeah, and that's one issue that came up about the issue of sincerity on the part of the stakeholders. The international moral guarantors did urge them, to pass on the right information to their people to avoid all this misinformation, because if they don't talk to their people, then the people will just listen to news that is flying around, and that is what they will take.
Sometimes even when some do, they say the wrong thing, knowingly what they are saying is wrong.
Yeah,
but they just want to play to the gallery.
Well, following those agreements, we at the Peace Commission, we embarked on a robust campaign, sensitization campaign. We went to various communities, even in Freetown. We started with Freetown with message informing the people about what's right and what's not correct about the National Unity Agreement, because there were a lot of misconceptions about what's in there. So we went around and we've continued with that. We also have a regular radio and discussion programs that we continue to talk to people about the importance of them not engaging in misinformation or sharing false messages across the country. But also the issue of communication came out during all these consultations, that people are not talking to the people about what's in this agreement. People don't know. The National Unity Agreement, okay, there are 8 resolutions, but the tripartite agreement has 80 or more. The ordinary man in the street doesn't know about what's in there. So they are urging for more communication, and we're looking forward to setting up of the steering committee, reconstituting it again, as mentioned. And they also talked about setting up a media committee. I think that will help a lot. That will go a long way in trying to pass on the message, because the people need to know what's in those agreements. The laws that are going to be reviewed or new ones made will affect the ordinary people, so they need to know. So we need more communication. We need to be open with our people to tell them the truth.
Okay.
To say that elections are gone and done. Let's forge ahead.
You may want to have a bite before I come to Sidi.
Yes, very quickly. 2 things. Number one, I think there's a general consensus that we have to be more aggressive, right, as it relates to communication, right, and interface and dialogue with the people of this country as to what is actually happening and what the plans are for the future. I think that's a point we have to agree on. But let me also say that I was on the 8th floor at TU building watching over whilst Sidi and his national executive were in a meeting with the moral guarantors. And to be honest, the crowd size I saw outside does not reflect the majority, right, in terms of the views of the general membership of the APC. I have to be honest, I saw it all. It played out in front of my own eyes. No one has to tell me. And so that gives me comfort that the vast majority of Sierra Leoneans, we want peace, we want to be peaceful, we want to continue to have a conversation, we want to continue to allow all the major players and actors, right, to meet and move forward on all of these issues. And for those who
but they also want electoral justice.
Well, electoral justice means many things, and for me it means looking back to all of the elections before now, making sure that we do not repeat the same mistakes again in 2028 and 2032 and going forward. I think that's for me is the real essence of electoral justice. So yes, I understand that people might have a different interpretation and tend to misinform and disinform people as to what electoral justice really means, right? But then and that is why we need to be more aggressive in our approach, right? But whatever happened on that day, whilst the national executive of the APC was in a meeting, does not reflect the mood of Sierra Leone.
Thank you. Okay, Sidi, now let me ask you some few political questions, because this is an opportunity for me. While the committee was about to come, while the committee was on the ground, the APC triggered something, asking the leader, Dr. Samura Kamara, to relinquish his position. I think before him, his running mate, Honorable Chiromaba, had relinquished his position. So that has set some motion now in the party.
Well, the fact of the matter is people have to understand exactly what is going on. This thing that is making news now is really not new, because you have to first of all hold a title for a particular office when the office exists. If you cannot hold a title for an office that does not exist.
Example?
The Article 47 of our Constitution is what rendered the offices of leader and deputy leader respectively non-existent anymore since December 27th, 2023. And that has long since been communicated to both Dr. Samura Kamara and Honorable Chairman Madam Majuba. So since December 27th, 2023, the offices of leader and deputy leader.
But after December, you still recognize Dr. Samura Kamara as flag bearer, former flag bearer?
Well, former flag bearer, yes.
No, but you recognize him as flag bearer for 2023 even after December.
Yeah, but he was a flag bearer for 2023, so that doesn't change. He was a flag bearer for 2018, so that is why since December you found out that the nomenclature changed from leader to our flag bearer for the 2018 and 2023 elections. That is how we refer to them, because that is what the Constitution of the APC Article 47 says. When we go to the National Delegates Conference and elect a presidential candidate, that presidential candidate becomes the leader of the party. Now, after general elections, if the Chief Electoral Commissioner announces that presidential candidate as winner and he eventually becomes president, he remains the leader of the party for the remainder of his tenure as president, of the country. Now, on the reverse, if the Chief Electoral Commissioner announces the presidential results and someone else other than that presidential candidate is announced as winner, 6 months after the day of that announcement, the office of the leader does not exist anymore, regardless of whether the results announced by the Chief Electoral Commissioner is challenged in this.
That's the point I was going to ask, because supporters of Samura Kamara are saying if the candidate loses the election, as they are saying, as far as they are concerned, Samura Kamara did not lose the election.
Well, the fact of the matter is, whether there were controversies with the results, and that is the caveat that people have to understand, and the result was challenged in the Supreme Court.
But in this case it was not.
Yeah, but which other legal way would you challenge an election's result? Where Constitution is legality, and the only legal way you challenge elections result is in the Supreme Court. That is why our Constitution mentioned this, because let us first of all understand that it is law in this country. Your party constitution has to be in tune with the national constitution. So that is why reference is made to the Supreme Court, because the national constitution says when you're dissatisfied with the elections result, you challenge that result in the Supreme Court.
But that was a route your party refused to take.
Yeah, and we have our reasons for that. And that is why I keep reminding people, it is because of our disagreements, the stance that we took, the route that we took that led us to Bintumani, where all these agreements were reached, where our presidential candidate is also signatory to both the tripartite recommendation.
So was that a consent? But the signature of Dr. Kamara, was that a consent that he had accepted the outcome of 2023?
Oh, which other way can you put it? Because the agreements are very, very clear as far as the resolutions reached and the way forward.
And nothing had to do with reinstatement, removing President Bioli, and nothing like that was mentioned.
And that is why I keep telling people, since Bintumani, since tripartite report, outside of the APC, there has not been any engagement where these issues have been discussed, because they do not form part of these agreements that were signed. They do not form part of the recommendations that we are reached consensus.
So, see the final as we go. What was the high point of the visit by the moral guarantors?
I think it's the fact that we were able to, all sit in the room again and discuss the turning issues, those that still have the tendency of keeping us apart, and those that still have the tendencies of creating mistrust. And I think also, it was a way also of putting to rest some of the rumors that were circulating, especially among our own supporters, as to why these people were coming. Except now, if you want to continue to hold on to whatever view that you hold on because you just want to continue to hold on. But this visit also should have sent a clear message to all of us as Sierra Leoneans that the focus now is implementing the recommendations of the tripartite report as well as the agreement of national unity, both of which have nothing to do with removing President Bio and bringing in Dr. Samura Kamara, okay. None of which have anything to do with a council coming in and restoring democracy, which many now interpret to be bringing in Dr. Samura Kamara as president. So okay. I think people should have understanding on
Thank you, Madam Jallo. In just 5 seconds, what do you think was the high point?
Well, the high point was the successful meetings with the various stakeholders. In fact, they were very impressed when they went to Parliament, and the level of camaraderie, friendship between the APC and the SLP parliamentarians on that day, it was huge for them. And for them, that's a sign that whatever, laws or new laws or old laws that will be brought to Parliament will be in the interest of the people, because they are the representatives of the people. So I think that's the high point, that the fact they were successful in getting the various stakeholders to update them on the progress made, their challenges, and also the way forward. And also the Commonwealth came with like a package of support for these institutions, technical support, training. So they urge the various stakeholders, to submit proposals in line with their needs, so that will help them in terms of their capacity building to implement this activity.
From the government side, how would you maintain the momentum and the gains?
Well, to keep doing what we've been doing so far, I think I'd just like to echo sentiments expressed by His Excellency the President, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Fountain of Honor. He has indicated time and again that he's committed to this process. He has no dog in this fight. He wants to make this part of his legacy, right? That we continue, he would leave behind a Sierra Leone with a democracy that is strengthened and deepened and with a lot of latitude to it, right? And that's the hope. We're excited about how much work we have to do. We look forward to the future. We hope we'll continue this partnership, right, with the Peace and Cohesion Commission being the centerpiece, right, for these interactions, and we will make good on our promises on the 84 recommendations and everything else that we need to do, right, to make Sierra Leone a better place under His Excellency the President.
Thank you very much. Well, it is Imran Sila from the Strategic Communications Unit of the Ministry of Information and Communications. Well, in the studio also have Fatmaza Jallo from the Peace Commission and Sidi Tunis, who is the Publicity Secretary of the All People's Congress. So on behalf of all of us and the rest of the production team, led by my producer Salmataba, I have been your host Asmi Bat. We'll join you again tomorrow for a fresh edition. This is how I say goodbye. God bless you.